Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Ryan.
How are you going?
How am I meant to be going?
Rachel, don't answer back with a question. That was a direct order. How are you going as ship's counselor? Let me tell you know what to connect with you, Rachel.
Hey.
How about I tell you a personal story of my own? A funny family funeral I had one time. You see, there was this relative of mine, and we stuffed him, and we broke off his fingers, and had a jolly old laugh. Oh, what a personal story that was!
Are you changing
connect
the details because you can't remember? Or because in this situation you are a member of Hugh's family, but
No, that was my own personal story, guys. We're not on the private channel, so I can share personal stories as well. I don't only do that on the private channel, I do that on the public channel too. But in all seriousness, how are you going?
You know, I've been subjected to an episode of Star Trek Discovery, so, an average day.
Yes, Star Trek Discovery coverage is back in action, baby! We're 4 episodes in, and we are YumYumPodcast, the iconic. We all know about the Yum Yum moment from Star Trek Discovery. What a moment, what a scene, what a writer's choice that was, and the actress delivered on it with absolute humility in her eyes. You could see that she was really thinking, I'm earning money for this. Humility
or humiliation?
A bit of both. Why not? She's that dynamic of an actress, Rachel. Don't worry. She will be back. Guys, Commander Nandi will return. But we are here to talk about Star Trek Discovery in a rewatch capacity, so that does mean spoilers are abound. So if you're not caught up with it, obviously at this moment in time it's just season 4, so that is it. So we are talking today about All Is Possible. Season 4, episode 4 comes in at a 4.9. A lot of 4s here. Is this kind of a spooky, or is this kind of some secret messaging from the Discovery team? Who knows? They're such geniuses. The synopsis, according to IMDb, is as such. Tilly and Adira lead a team of Starfleet Academy cadets on a training mission that takes a dangerous turn. Meanwhile, Burnham is pulled into tense negotiations on Navarre. This is an episode of Star Trek Discovery, and to jump straight into the history with this, we watched this fresh off the presses, obviously, so when we first saw this...
Did we know this was going to be Tilly's last episode?
We had a sensation. Because, as I said, we saw this fresh, so we didn't know what the audience's reactions were. We didn't know the general, little things leaking to us. No. We just turned it on, and you knew when you started this with the way that they're focusing on Tilly and the seeds that they've been planting or forcing down our throats in the last couple of episodes that, this is when she leaves. This is when she leaves. Or dies, or moves on, or something has to change with her. But watching this that first time fresh, I didn't know that this was going to be received as the worst episode of the series, according to IMDb and to a lot of people. I didn't realize that this was going to be the worst, the quote-unquote worst episode of the season. And when I looked at it all those months and months back, I didn't hate it. I was just really, really bored and then shocked at how unlovingly they exited the character of Tilly. There was no real love there. There was no real sense of drive to it. It was like, and she's gone, and here's a quick little montage of her leaving, and that's what really left the taste in my mouth. That, as well as, and this is very prominent on this watching, is this was the most direct story that they told in the show, in this season in particular. It wasn't bogged down too much. There was still too many plots going on, but each one of them was very A to B to C. They weren't that complicated, and a lot of them were, especially the Tilly one. I've seen that episode of Star Trek. Remember Learning Curve, the season finale for Voyager in the first one with Tuvok? I've seen that episode. Or was it Galileo 7 with Spock when he took command? And I've seen these episodes, so it was the most direct to me, and in a way it stood out because of that. Amongst all the episodes of this season, this is the one I remembered, not just because of Tilly's abrupt exiting or awkward exiting, but this central drive to it of the cadets and all of that felt very Star Trek-y to me. Doesn't mean they executed it well, and evidently not for many people, but I remembered it. I remembered it. If you put a gun against my head and said, which episode of season 4 comes to the top of the list, it's this one, weirdly. And yeah, so that's kind of been my roundabout way of saying that this one was evidently memorable. What about you? What's been your kind of dynamic with this? What did you know? What did you not know? All of that stuff. How did you feel?
I, like you, had that inkling that it was bye-bye Tilly time.
Bye-bye Tilly time.
Bye-bye Tilly. I remember not really enjoying Adira in this episode because I'm like, but you do know how to work as a team. Numerous times we have seen you effectively work with Stamets and Tilly.
Yeah, but you see, now Grey is back in real life. It's really thrown Adira off.
And now Adira is officially an ensign, so now they're being more of a fuckwit.
Well, they have to be the new Tilly.
Yes.
You have to set them up as this young, eager, too big for their britches type deal, and they have to be humbled and learn their place and learn what it is to be a part of a team, but they're bubbly and effervescent, but also kind of too egotistical in little ways. A little bit of that Paul thing there.
Yes.
Stroke the chin at that. But yeah, as you were saying, you weren't a fan of Adira.
No, I was just like, why is this happening? This doesn't make that much sense to me. It doesn't feel right.
You know what? If I can just comment on that for a second. You know what it is? I didn't even think of this until you said those words. It's the writers having to come up with a character.
Yeah.
Because Adira didn't really have any character last season. They had ideas for a character, but they never actually actualize a character drive or trait. And so this is them doing it. And you, the audience member, are sitting there feeling this disingenuous writing trick.
Yeah.
It stands out.
Forced. Still feels really forced on the rewatch. I also remember being like, wait, what? Tilly is gone now? Like, you just eat her out in what feels so clearly like a setup for a spin-off.
They want to do a Starfleet Academy
show.
My
God. It was so heavy with that feeling. The way that the selection and the information that you get for each of those characters that are on that away mission, it's burdened with that feeling of, oh, this is a backdoor pilot kind of plot, isn't it?
Yeah, that or just having Tilly in that position of being the teacher, the mentor, and wouldn't you want a Starfleet Academy show? Wouldn't that be fun? Oh, like Police Academy, but at Starfleet. Ooh, isn't that crazy?
The other thing that I remember is being kind of annoyed at the way that they characterize Hugh as a counselor. Because I'm like, well, counseling isn't therapy, and you're not really doing therapy, but you're seeing Book multiple times each week.
Book needs a lot of work.
Like, yeah, he does.
He's the first client.
His planet was fucking destroyed.
He's the first patient or client or whatever they want to call him in this that's had actual issues. Unlike Detmer, who just hit her head real hard and couldn't get over it
just
for a whole
needed
season.
To fly really
Book
fast.
actually has
to get
serious
over it.
emotional problems that needs professional help. So he's trying.
Give him some programmable matter and he'll make some progress. Because, they take back the progress that he made at the end of the last episode.
Whoa. Programmable matter makes progress.
Yeah.
Whoa. I didn't realize that one of the writers came into the podcast again. Get out of here. Stop telling us your notes that you put down for the season-long script for the arcs. Fuck off, we don't want to know, and we can see it. Oh boy, that thing there really could be applied to their type of writing, where you could believe that was a post-it card that they had pinned on the board for this one, and a writer and the other ones cheered, like, that's really great, you did a good job there.
Yeah, I love the technology. I love what we've done with programmable matter. I have to shout out Alatunde Oshinsanmi, who's one of our executive producers and our producing director. And the genesis of it was birthed out of his brilliant mind, and in the brilliant mind of Michelle Paradise and Alex Kurtzman coming together to like further develop it and everything. It's become quite a tenet of the technology of this new future. And I love it. I love it. That's really cool. Yeah.
I had an emotional reaction in a delayed sense with this one when it first aired. So when I first watched it, it was just kind of numbing. Oh, the usual dredge of Star Trek Discovery where it's just, here we go. It's another episode. They're just doing a thing. They're having to check these boxes. They're having to manufacture a way for the actress to leave the show for a period of time. Okay, yeah. But a few weeks, over time, I got a genuine sadness from this, and not one that was from the show earning it, but I was depressed on a minor level because I thought about if I was invested in this show, how supportive and liking it, and of Tilly, I would have been so upset with how they did her here, because it's not like with just... She's dismissed. They gave up. They threw away her arc. They threw away the character. And whether it is cynically because they're trying to spin her off into another show, or whether it is because the actress just couldn't commit, or whatever it is, I think about all of those people last season in Discovery who were all defending Tilly being acting captain and how she will pick herself back up, and all those people who were defending the merits of that character, and then the writers looking them in the eyes and saying, fuck you with this. It made me upset because there are many times in TV shows where I've seen this happen, and it's made me upset. I love Voyager, and hey, I love 7 of 9, but did they do Kez and the actress of Kez dirty?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
And Kez isn't even a favorite character of mine. She's not one I hate like other people do, but there's a sadness there when I do watch later seasons of Deep Space Nine, knowing the cynical move at play there.
Wait, Deep Space Nine?
Of Voyager. No, and Deep Space Nine's another great example as well with Dax,
you
right?
Just switched examples.
No. And Dax is great. Everyone knows this Trip in the final episode of Enterprise, where it's just fuck you, and it makes
love to say,
and it is true. It makes Enterprise hard to watch, knowing that the writers fuck over this character for what purpose, really? And that's what I got with Tilly. Remember, I did like this character at one point, and I am sympathetic to people who still enjoy Discovery. I'm not going to shout at their face and say fuck you for liking it, and I understand why people...
whatever you fucking like.
And I understand why people...
As long as you're not hurting anybody else.
And Tilly is a character I do understand why people enjoy, and so there was a profound sadness at how this episode shuffled her off in a very disrespectful manner to me. I mean, this was one of the the top characters of the show.
Yeah.
Like, Tilly's one of the first characters you think of when you think of Discovery. It's like Michael, Saru, Tilly, Paul, like those are the top 4, and then the rest.
I don't like Discovery. I think I may have alluded to that fact.
What?
And
No, can we have Rachel back in the room? I know you're the writer and you don't like it. That's why you write for Discovery. But what does Rachel think?
I don't like Tilly that much anymore either. But I still think she deserves better than what this episode gives her. And we'll get more into it.
We will get her in the final stretch of the season as
She
well. She comes
back round, but it does feel dismissive and it devalues the amount of energy, effort, and care that the audience has in Tilly.
Right. And that's why, even though I wouldn't compare them fully, but that's why I think of someone like Trip, in which the audience has invested so much time, energy, and effort into seeing this character grow and develop and change in front of their eyes, and we're appreciating the work the writers put into this, only for the writers themselves to remind us that the characters aren't real. You know what I mean? Like, you are in your immersion of the world where you, for these 45 minutes to 50 minutes, believe these characters. You don't, like us, think about how they are created by multiple people, that they're not real, that they're just a series of ideas smashed together, and hopefully they can form into a person. You're not supposed to really think about that, but when you have moments like Trip at the end and Tilly here, it reminds you of that. It's just like, oh, that's right. They don't actually matter. They're just a job for people until that job becomes inconvenient and they get rid of that job that they have to do. This is a job. Tilly, writing for the character of Tilly and maintaining her plots and storylines and her arc and her personality was their job, and they no longer needed to do that job anymore. It's not caring.
No, it's not.
There are some writers who really fucking care about like their characters, and you have moments many times in Star Trek in which you're reminded that not all of these writers and not all these production people have that. They are just, this is the thing I had to create, it didn't work out, and I threw it to the curb.
There is a lot of ways. There are a lot of ways to put that kind of thing on a scale. And for me right now, I'm got like Discovery at one end of that scale with TV as product. And on the other end, I have TV as art with Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Like, those two are like the antithesis of each other for me.
Heck, you could even argue that Strange New Worlds is kind of the antithesis of Discovery as well, where you can tell they care about their characters, but there is an unfortunate level of, as we say, the commercialization to it. Like, these are products that we have to push. These are like IPs we have to maintain.
It's somewhere in the middle of those two. It's definitely not as much of a product as Discovery is.
But that isn't a qualifier of quality either.
No.
Alex and I thought that it would be an interesting thing to bring Jim Kirk into the last episode of Strange New Worlds. That was always the plan. We had no idea how we were going to do it.
Michael, being the amazing partner that she is, forces her boyfriend to get therapy.
Does she force him?
I
think it's just kind of like, well, here's the thing. We don't know. It's all said through expositional dialogue. The very beginning of this episode, Michael is telling us things that I wrote in my notes.
Captain's
we should
log.
see this. We should see this. In a serialized show, we should see these things. Instead, it is images of these things overlaid with Michael just telling us. And again, it's the classic, they tell us that this is happening, so we have to take it at the face value
I'm pretty sure,
and accept it.
There's a line from Hugh that says, like, you are here at Michael's request.
I can't even remember, because here's the thing.
I feel like there's a line like that.
You can win. I'm not arguing. I don't remember, because we're going to talk about the book storyline. It's boring.
It's a subplot in this episode?
A plot. It's a thing that takes up screen time.
Yeah.
It's a thing that we have to maintain, because this episode isn't maintaining the DMA plot. So we have to have something.
No, it gets alluded to, but...
No, but it's not an actual thing in the episode. It doesn't matter the DMA plot
changes.
So we have to have Book.
And also, we need to make it clear where Book is at, so when he turns against the Federation, it's meant to make more sense.
Because grief is complex and nuanced, and it isn't just a easy path taken, and all of these magical themes. Again, the show has themes, the show has arcs, and the show has things it wants to head towards, but the journey through those and to those aren't enough entertainment for me. This thing with Book is the classic Discovery scene, in which it's the same scene again and again and again and again and again until the episode decides it's over now.
Just
I couldn't tell you how
it's throughout the episode.
I cannot tell you how it ends. I just watched it, and the only image I have is him and Hugh sitting there playing with programmable matter as sand. But that was every scene practically. So I cannot tell
the
you.
Mandela away.
Did he?
That the last?
You tell me. You tell me.
No, that's my best guess. I don't remember either.
I don't remember.
Don't throw that on me.
This wasn't engaging. And it's not because of the complaint I often see, which is Discovery is about having a therapy sessions without characters. Boo-hoo, they have emotions. That isn't my complaint. I enjoy a good therapy session in shows. The Sopranos is one of the greatest shows of all time, and some of the most fascinating scenes in that entire show are just therapy scenes, okay? I'm not against those.
It's a big draw in Lucifer.
It's a big draw in Lucifer, apparently. I haven't watched it, but it was a big draw in Sopranos. I'm not against
the devil gets therapy. What's not to like?
What's not to like? I like The Good Place, which also deals with very much these type of, let's put our characters through therapy and psychology and all these kind of little tricks, but they did it in a series of very complex and interesting ways that also introduced philosophical ideas. I'm not against that. It's just, it's actually tricky to write. You have to have things in it. Things that escalate, gives us understandings of characters' ideologies and all this. I didn't learn anything new about Book. And I didn't learn anything new about Hugh either. I guess I did. Like, Hugh has backstory, but I didn't learn anything about him as a person more. And we'll get into that in the Hughdar. But that's where I'm struggling with. I don't have a problem with the therapy things, but I should learn some more things. I should experience some more things. But again, it was the same scene and the same note over and over until it ends.
I don't know if this is really what you were getting at, but this is where my mind has gone to, which is a criticism for, all of the plots in this episode, I think, and most of the episodes in Discovery, which is the characters learn about themselves, but we don't learn about the characters.
My note for this was emotional gibberish. The series is all about emotions. If we have emotions, that means the audience has emotions. But I 100%, in my core, when I see the scenes with Book here, I am convinced that the writers don't know what emotions are. That is just my statement. they are like aliens in which they have observed emotions and they go, oh, I can replicate those things, but it's all gibberish to me. It's watching a language that I don't understand, and they're trying to communicate back to me their version of what they think I'm about. And it's mind-boggling because it's like, I know what emotions are. I know how these things play out in shows. I can get them, and there are some shows like you brought up Better Call Saul that is very emotionally driven as well, and they can play me like a fiddle, and I don't necessarily know in the moment as writers how they pulled that off, but then I think about it and I get it, or I don't, but I know I felt something and it was real. This is people who know that if they have the actors cry and yell and say things out loud, if they say their things out loud, that means the audience will have some reaction of some sort, and that means it's a success. But Book could have just been quacking for the entire runtime, and it would have made the exact same thing for me. Do you have that at all?
Yeah. Things are just happening on screen. I don't care about them. And the more they ring it out and make it more melodramatic, the less I give a fuck.
It's unearned. I am curious, though. You are a watcher of shows, as many people have heard over and over on the pod. You're kind of more soap opera-y things, which Discovery has been slammed with by us and others many times.
Just bring up Lucifer, which
has
a lot of soap
which operate on a same kind of principle, where it's like we have a lot of emotional things in there. The audience is going to get something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't enjoy those shows like you do. Like, I can never watch Grey's Anatomy and get what you... Like, you cry at, like, shit like Grey's Anatomy. I can never cry at those because I have the same reaction as I do with this, in which it's like, I understand what emotions are, but this is gibberish. Like, this is gibberish to me. This is nonsense. This is unearned. This is false. This is fake. It's artificial. So, as somebody who can be drawn into... Yeah, I know, it's very funny. I do have emotions, guys. I'm a human being. I'm not an alien, I swear. I'm not one of those pod people, I swear it. I'm not a lizard person. I know many people listen to the pod think I'm the heartless one, but I'm not. I have a heart. It beats that thing you guys call blood from one heart to another. And I am not somebody who eats fresh newborn baby. I don't do that.
You saved a baby.
I saved a baby once. That means you should give me a 5-star review because I told you that I saved a baby. See, if I tell you something important happened, you have to believe it. I don't have to demonstrate it or show you or give you any nuanced explanation of such thing or tell you a fascinating story that makes you immersed. If I just say I saved a baby and if I just say I'm a human, you have to take that at face value. I mean, even if you haven't met me and you don't know me, you just have to, you hear me say it and you have to nod along. Or if your book, quack. But what I was getting at is you are susceptible to the same tactics that Discovery uses in other shows that many people, like myself, would not say are good shows, like Better Call Saul. So how come the similar tricks of those are not working for you here?
I don't care or like the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not invested in their struggles or their experiences. Also, in Grey's Anatomy, a lot of the time, the fucking music is what gets me to cry. Like,
but
the pairing of that with
Discovery has music. Didn't you hear the comedy music that indicates you should laugh at Tilly's lol random humor?
Oh boy, I did. It didn't work though. Did not work.
See,
I didn't even pity laugh at this episode.
Oh no, this was a blank stared reaction from both of us of an episode.
I kept on doing like anything to avoid giving it my attention as well, and you were like, no, stop playing
I'm watching
Subway Surfer.
Yeah, I'm watching it. You're watching it. We're married now.
Suffer.
You have to suffer with. That was in the vows. Suffering together.
No, like I do just call watching Discovery when are we going to suffer?
Yeah, I guess I just grill you because you're a very fascinating person when it comes to watching media because you say this, but I look at you and go, do you actually care about the characters of Chesapeake Shore? Because you skip through it. You're like, skip. Yeah. Oh, here's the emotion. I've seen you. You skip all the way to those emotional moments to have that reaction, and then you move on. So I just find it fascinating because, like, there's a person like you who will watch Discovery and get that reaction that you do from other shows, but for Discovery. And to me, it's all mind-boggling like that because it's like, guys, don't you see that this isn't earned?
Yeah.
Like, this is just manufactured? It drives me up the wall.
A part of that, like, you know, I am very guilty of that with Chesapeake Shores in particular.
Mm-hmm. And Lucifer. Yeah.
You done attacking me, bro?
Can I name one more show you do that with? What is there? You kind of did that with Offspring after a certain period of time as well. You were just skipping through Offspring at periods of time.
No, not when I watched it for the first time.
Not the first time, but that later seasons you were like, boom, boom, boom.
No, I never did.
Guys, hear that? Rachel said it. Guys,
when I rewatched it,
yeah, Rachel said it, so you have to believe it. Like how I have a heart. But no, you were going to go in and say about like this stuff about like engaging with this.
Even the characters in those shows, they change as a result of their experiences. I know that something is going to shift one way or another after those big emotional releases.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's a build-up towards that. And with some shows, I'm like, I'll skip like the tail end of the lead-up and just get to the big scene, or I just want to know what fucking happens because I know that the characters will change, but I know that they'll be fine. I don't like being in that in-between zone.
Right, and I would argue that Discovery in this season does those things, but I think the difference is you go to those shows as junk.
Yes.
You don't expect them to be anything better or anything worse.
And
you go to them with a set, this is what I'm here for. Even though you know Discovery is bad, there's still that part of both of us that says like, but it's Star Trek. It should be something different from this. And it's constantly a disappointment that it isn't. Like, we should accept what it is at this point, but even season 4 is a step down from what it's been.
A factor to not be ignored. I, like, not only do I go to those things for that, I choose to watch those things. And there are a number of shitty shows that I don't continue to watch.
Very true.
I don't get a choice on whether I watch Star Trek Discovery or not.
Nah, it's called a marriage. You're married to it now.
No. No, I'm not Princess Diana. Well, there were really 3 people in our marriage.
No, it's not just 3. It's a whole crew.
I think I might have actually made some friends today. I wish I knew how to do it without nearly getting eaten by a blob. But
you know, you are one of the most brilliant people that I have ever met.
Another...
Saru's gonna get some.
Yeah, another storyline that we're having is...
Bang, bang over tea.
Yeah, Saru wants to bang, bang over tea, as you maturely state. But no, that's only a part of the B plot, C plot. It wrestles to be the C and A plot at the same time, and also the B is Michael and Saru are called to do, like, just be there for the diplomatic relations of getting
sick.
quote unquote sick, and it is about them being there for when Navarre signs over, but when you know it, those tricky old Navarians have pulled a last-minute switcheroo in which they want an exit clause, but the Federation isn't willing to give it to them, and somebody must be willing to compromise, and it's up to Saru to talk to the president of the Navarre, and it's up to Michael to talk to the president of the Federation, and when you know it, both of them find some kind of common ground with the respective person they talk to, and then they realize that teamwork is really effective, and that an outside party who is somebody who is both sides of the conflict is the best person, and when you know it, it's Michael. And
how does she have time for all of these jobs?
She doesn't. She's not very good at any of them. You can have all the responsibilities in the world. Doesn't mean that you're good at all of them. And Michael is a great example of how she is somebody who has taken on too many roles, too many responsibilities, too much power, and is unable to sustain them effectively. That's just, like, that's not even me being a quote-unquote hater of Michael. That is textual. That's in the text. Like, the president has ridiculed that in the last 3 episodes. So it is something, as we have seen, they acknowledged Michael's flaws, but will they actually change them or grow them?
They called that God complex, but didn't do anything about it.
No,
did
they're going to show us that it's actually good. It's actually good. I don't even know what to say about this other than it's baby's first politics.
But Michael does show it. But Michael does show an aptitude.
Will she be president by the end of the series? President Michael Burnham? Why not? Why not? Fucking go for it. Go full Babylon 5 with this shit at this point. That's the thing. This is such a I feel as if I've stepped in dog shit watching this plot, because we are talking about Babylon 5, which is a space politics show in which they go through a lot of minutiae and details and wheeling and dealing and political plays, and everyone has a different agenda, and how do our main characters grapple it all together within the 45 minutes. And you come to this, and it really is a children's TV show level of how to do space politics. If I was told, like, if you told me that this was actually a plot idea for Prodigy, the kids show, and they thought, hey, there's actually a lot here, we could put it in Discovery. I mean, sure, because it is as simplistic as a plot in a kids show, in which it's not deficient. It is a functional story, but it isn't filled out.
That isn't a unique quality to this story.
No, it's not filled out, and it doesn't have any complexities or nuances. It's just
but the
watered down.
Tilly's plot with you got to learn to work together as a team, and everybody has their own backstory is also a
kidsy thing.
Yeah.
But also, when we'll get to the Tilly thing, but like that particular brand within Tilly's one is something we've seen Star Trek do many times and often fails at as well. Like, often the Tilly type plot that we have here are failures in previous Star Treks, and they're not all usually the good ones. And mainly because of that aspect that we're talking about, this kidsy thing. But like, God, Rachel, I mean, talk to me. We're watching Babylon 5 at the same time as this. Yeah, this is Discovery saying we're space politicking now.
It makes it so much more disappointing and difficult to swallow.
What does that even say about this? Because, like with books, it's the same thing over and over until they finally resolve it. You know? Where it's like, oh, there's a problem here, solve problem, end. Again, it's at a lack of immersion or lack of intrigue or interest. There's no rising tension or complications that are fun to watch. There's nothing. Nobody's really invested either. That's the thing that really gets me, is since the Vulcan president is the one who leaked the information, and the Federation president is the one who's brought Michael and Saru here to achieve the goal, and Michael and Saru are both kind of blasé about being there in the first place. I'm watching a room full of people have to solve a conflict that none of them are really actively keen on solving. They want it solved, they want it resolved, but none of them are really biting at the teeth or suffering or going through anything.
Care that much.
Because they know what the outcome is. It will work out. See, I, the president of Navarre, am concerned about this, so I've told the other president. The other president is like, well, I'm concerned about this too. Michael and Saru, can you solve our problem for us? I know you will be able to, but hey, she says, I didn't know if you're the right person for the job. You see? That's how you can save your butt. But when you're viewing this, Rachel, I mean, it's empty, right?
Vacuous. Absolutely.
I mean, what could they do? Because we can't even talk about what they did because they did nothing. So at that point, it's like, what do you do? What do you do with this?
I don't know anymore. It's broken in too many ways. And I don't care enough about them not caring to try and figure out a way to make them care.
Is this storyline, this particular one, actually interested in telling a story?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Because otherwise, why would it be here?
Because you need to have a storyline to propel the themes that they're more interested in.
No.
They're more interested in hammering in the theme of the president of the Federation giving to Michael.
How can we carry this theme, not what story needs to be told? But I'm like, technically there are enough events that meet the bare minimum requirements of a plot.
Right. But when you're marking a story at school, there's a difference, isn't there, between reading a story in which you could tell the kid wanted to write this or was actively trying, and the one who is meeting the bare minimum. They're just ticking, here we go. Like, yes, there's themes. Yes, there's a 3-act structure. Yes, a character grows and develops, but they're not interested in it. What they're interested in, at least from my point of view, it seems like you have a little bit of a traction on this as well, but also you're a little bit of a distance from me. It comes across that it just comes across as to me that they want to bring forward the Saru romance plot or romance angle, and they just want to keep bringing up, hey, Michael. The world's a little bit more complicated than you think it is, but in fact, you are the important one here. And you could plug in any plot line to service that.
Yes, you could.
And is that new in Star Trek?
No.
But is that bad in Star Trek?
No.
Right? That's where it becomes complicated. That's where there's the wrinkle here, because there are many Star Trek episodes that aren't...
It's how you do it.
It's how you do it. There's many episodes of Star Trek that aren't actually interested in the sci-fi plot, but they use it as a skeleton, as a framework to go through these things that they're actually interested in, whether it's a specific theme or an allegory, a specific metaphor, or a topic that they want to explore and debate with the audience, perhaps. And that's one of the beautiful things about the franchise is, on the face value, a general viewer will see the story and subconsciously pick up the themes and the debates and all of these ideas. And the more active viewer will see through the plot and see what the writer's getting at. one of my favorite episodes of TNG is the one where Deanna Troy's mother, Luxana Troy, falls in love with the guy who has to commit ritual suicide. There's no real big plot in that. It's just more about, like, the ideas. It's more about the dynamics of those two characters
and exploration.
And the exploration of, like, how do you feel about the issue that we have here of, like, here's a culture that killed off their old because of these reasons. Do you agree with that? How do you feel? There's so many things about, like, the elderly, and then they're not really interested in telling a plot in that episode. Like, there is one. It meets the bare minimum. There's some kind of sci-fi bullshit that he as a scientist has to deal with. But you don't care about that.
No.
But that's still a great episode in my book.
You care about him.
You care about him. You care about that. Here, you don't care about anyone, and you don't care about the lame sci-fi politics because they can't be bothered to create any.
And it's also like, we'll never. I am doubtful we will ever see Burnham in the capacity that she appoints herself to in this episode. Because why the fuck would we?
I will never get over that none of them thought about bringing in some kind of third-party moderator that can accommodate both sides. Like, Michael's not this unique snowflake. She's not the only
an
one.
arbiter is not uncommon in negotiation.
But you see, these Navarians, they just can't abide by that. But since Michael's from there, but also from Starfleet, she's the only one. What happens if she dies?
Well,
she's like on the front lines. Like, what happens if she dies?
She'll...
No, seriously, what happens if she died? Would the Navar just go like, we're out? The chosen one died. Again, this works if this is for babies. Like, this would work if I was 6 years old watching this and I go...
don't think about it and it's fine. Just don't think about it and it'll be fine.
Yeah, just
let's move on then, shall we?
Like the show. Let's move on. Isn't it weird that we are leaving the Tilly thing as the last thing to discuss in terms of the plot? But I want to ask you, what's the A plot of the episode? What's the main plot?
I don't know. It's definitely not book.
No, God, no.
But I feel like it's more Burnham's story than Tilly's, even though Tilly's one takes up more time.
Does it?
Just because, well, it felt that way.
Not to me.
Because it felt like they were cutting to Tilly.
That's the way to describe it, yeah. But yeah, I want to say it's Tilly's one because it's the title's in reference to her. The title is in reference to many things in her plot. It's her farewell at the end, and she goes through a massive change and decision, and she's got a major, as we keep saying, she grows, she develops, she makes up her mind and acts on it. The plot itself is very much like a Star Trek thing, in which it's like, that would usually be the main plot of these shows, and so, yeah, like, sure it is. But there was that moment in which we cut to Michael, and then we cut to Book, and then we cut back to Michael, then we cut to Book, and blah, blah, blah. And we went back. I remember the cut exactly. When we cut away from when the shuttle has crashed, and they're like, oh my God, what do we do? And then we went to all of those other plot lines, and then we cut back to them, and it's like, we've repaired all the right things that we need. And I was like, oh, that's right, this plot's still happening, huh? Gee whiz. I guess they weren't interested in showing us fix the things because that would be boring, right?
Yes.
But you know what you fill that up with? Character moments.
Oh, that thing.
Sure, they're repairing and doing technobabble bullshit, but have character moments, have more interactions.
Talk
Let us
to each other like people.
Yes.
The way that, colleagues do.
Great. Good. Now we all know each other a little better. Go team.
This is a wet fart of a plot because...
Oh, at least a shot surprises you most of the time.
they could, we've said this at least for one plot each episode. You could make something from this. You could do something with this. To give a positive, because I'm being very harsh, you are sighing and rubbing your eyes and looking angry. The positive I will give is when David Cronenberg rocked up, the conversation he had with her at the beginning and the conversation she had back was well done. I enjoyed it. I wrote in my notes, this is where you leap off from for the rest of the episode. And they kinda do, and that's where it's frustrating. They kinda do, but not really. And I want to pull my hair out, because a sci-fi writer, even a mid-range one, would do something with this. They could make an episode in which I at least care about one of the new crew, like one of the cadets.
Do you remember any of their names?
Nope. Not a single one. I couldn't tell you even what they're like. I could only tell you which ones were blue and which ones were green, and there wasn't even a blue one. That was a lie. I lied to you just now.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you any character traits to them, other than angry backstory shouted out of nowhere forcefully. And I will forget that angry backstory after we're talking. I don't remember
He
it.
had to bury his own grandmother. How could you forget that?
Which one did that?
The one with the teeth.
Oh, Tellarite. Yeah. And the Orion's father or grandfather was this really important guy that we never heard of last season.
Yep.
Would have been really cool if they even set it up.
Died as a political
Heck, set it up this season. That would have been neat. But instead it's this forced thing that apparently I should care about and should take seriously.
Ain't got time for that. No time for that, please.
Learning Curve. The Voyager episode. Not a great episode. Kind of lame. It has similar problems in which you have the Bajoran boy who's forced to take off his earring and he's all silent and they tell you his broody backstory. You have the guy who's defending him who, gets punched by Chakotay. Those guys are lame. I don't care about them. They tell us who they are without actually showing us. But guess what? I do remember the blue guy, the fat blue guy who was always talking and he couldn't do the run-in and he had his necklace because... As lame as it was, as generic and boilerplate as it was, they gave me characteristics about him that I remembered. While the others, I just pulled those because I'm struggling to remember. But I don't remember that Bajoran boy's character trait or that other guy's. Oh, I think there was a chick in there as well. Can't tell you a single thing. The blue guy, I remembered. He was funny. He was silly. He had an obvious way he could develop and change from being the fat, silly, dumb guy to being more competent. Here, it's like, racism's bad, guys. Bigotry, bad, guys.
Prejudice
Teamwork
has no place in Starfleet.
Teamwork, good though. And see, Learning Curve has the benefit.
Connection.
Connection, family, faith. Learning Curve has the striking thing of at least having Tuvok being forced to interact with these people, and Tuvok's a memorable character. It's like, on paper, you can tell, that's a funny idea. What if you forced Tuvok to train a bunch of ragtag marquee misfits? You can imagine up what it is. And that episode, as many shortcomings as it has, it does at least meet those expectations. Here, it's like, I wanted to see more of Tilly's moments when they talk to Adira. When Adira was all, I thought I was here as an aide and blah, blah, blah. And Tilly leaned in and kind of actually became like a good teacher and commanding officer.
Yeah. Yeah. She steps up a little bit sporadically, when she has that moment with Adira of no, see yourself as a cadet. And when she's like, no, we're going. And then it's like, we're doing the fucking introductions. Suck it up. She doesn't take the reins of her being the fucking lieutenant on a mission with a bunch of cadets.
See, it was more engaging for me to watch because these are minor things we've seen from Tilly in the show being expanded upon. It's less interesting for me to see her say, yes, and do her modern, quirky, oh, aren't I funny Tilly things, because I've seen that over and over. You give me this episode, I want to see her pivot to a new way of being as a character. Or if she can't, make that a point of contention. Because when Spock had to take over and shuttle the Galileo, it showed that he was a bad leader in crisis situations and that he had to work on communication and being a better officer. Here they're having it both ways, where we again, classic Discovery. Let it breathe. Don't undercut it with awkward, silly humor. Let Tilly be the teacher in the room, because, like, I watch this with you, and I always just want to ask you, as a teacher, what do you get out of this? Because she's trying to be the teacher in the room, but at, like, 90% of it, she also isn't really trying, and I go, what's the point? What's the point, then? Because at least Tuvok tried.
Yes.
Spock tried and failed, but it's like she doesn't try for most of it. And then she's like, I want to become a teacher at the end. It's like, well, you didn't fucking try.
No, she doesn't step into that role enough. Like, she's meant to be leading this mission. She should know how to do that already. And they all in this situation should be very familiar with why and what the power structures are in these situations, and that they're even more important in an emergency situation like the one that they find themselves in.
Would you, if you were, I mean, you're a trained teacher.
Yeah.
If you were hiring, would you hire her like Cronenberg does at the end of this with what you saw? Would you go, that's good enough to be a teacher. No training required. You're good enough. Because no, she doesn't need training. Come to the academy, teach.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't, but I wouldn't have the same criteria that he does, because he's just like,
desperate.
You're a happy person. You have hope. We need hope. Come along.
Famous fucking nihilistic-esque film director David Cronenberg is like, I like you. You got hope. That's what I need. I'm David Cronenberg and I like money.
If we're going to survive, we need hope.
I honestly light up every time he's on the show, because it is a fact that he does this only for money. He has no love for the writing. He has no love for Star Trek.
It's very convenient.
It's convenient. It's like it's down the road from him. He earns some extra cash that he can use to fund his own films, and he doesn't even have to take off his glasses. If this was any other guy, heck no. You know what? Star Trek has lost so much integrity to me that if I was told this in a previous lifetime, I would have been annoyed to hear that. I would have been like, what do you mean? It would be such a joy and an honor to be on Star Trek. I could never be like that. Like, if he was in TNG and he did this, I would have been pissed off, because it's like you're robbing actors who, like Whoopi Goldberg, for instance, who loved Star Trek and she got to be on it because she loved it. And it was like, you could see that. And you can see the opposite with David Cronenberg, where it's like, he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care. But because of where I am with Star Trek now, I wish I could be him. Walk onto a show. No, not even Star Trek. I just wish I could walk onto a show that people fucking love and froth over and not give a rat's ass, and just be like, openly not give a rat's ass, and people still commend me on being in it. And it's like, because it's like, people commend David Cronenberg on being here, and so do I, because he is pretty good. Like, he's not too bad. What is it with these
does
weird.
better than a lot of other actors.
What
do.
is it with these weird directors? You
Yeah.
got was it Werner Herzog
Yeah.
was in Mandalorian season 1, being happy jolly.
Yep.
Which is weird to see because he's like the scariest fucking guy ever. And then you got this motherfucker David Cronenberg coming in on Discovery. Like the most abstract directors, the most like weirdo choices directors being like pivotal roles, and you remember them. You remember
do
them.
a good job in them.
They're both
With
great
like,
in their
those two
respective
examples.
roles.
I just want this to end.
Like they did with Tilly leaving. Can we just go to there? I mean, because the actual away mission, the crash landing mission is very boring and bad, and they have a character design, a creature design that never matched the script. By the way,
Abso-fucking-lutely. That's something that we were so confused by on our first.
They keep saying it looks like a jellyfish and a blob, but then we see it and it doesn't look anything. It looks like a giant kind of lobster crab thing mixed with a little bit of an octopus, but not enough to say it's like a blob. And it's very like, in the script they had it one way and the CG people went another way and nobody fixed it. In an episode filled with fucking awful ADR, by the way. Awful ADR. Especially when they crashed that shuttle. Very bad ADR. They couldn't fix any of that in post, huh? With ADR. I mean, we know they did that with Giorgio all the time, where they would like overdub her to fix obvious mistakes or obvious flaws. They couldn't do that here, huh? Whatever. Okay. I mean, it was pandemic. They made it in the pandemic. It was hard. It's very hard. But what do you want to go to next? I mean, do you want to just jump to her leaving?
Yes, I do.
Big thing.
And I want to say that it's pathetic. And the thing that I kept on thinking about was Tilly would have more than one suitcase. That was the only, I was just like, nah, I don't buy it. She would have at least 2. That bitch is a hoarder.
Well, are you allowed to keep that much? Especially if you're roommates with your best friend Michael for so many years. I know they're not currently, but they shared a room together for so long. And they're best friends. Did you not cry at that scene where they forcefully laughed at each other's comments? At their non-jokes? You love those. That was your favorite scene, wasn't it? Where they kept saying how good they are and how wonderful their friendship has been. And
snoring's funny.
Oh, and they recollect about all these wacky times. Could have been great to see them on screen. I mean, what was your reaction that first time when they did the ending montage of her leaving?
I was just like, well, okay, at least you're doing something. I don't like it. I don't think it makes much sense. Unless, other than you needed this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing something? Yay! Something that's gonna matter for more than an episode, maybe. I didn't dare hope that it was gonna matter for more than a season.
I was stunned. They put more care and attention and effort in the crew reacting to her getting a promotion than her leaving the ship.
Yeah.
There was more weight.
Giorgio's farewell had more weight.
Giorgio's farewell, and she was a fucking Nazi. And for all intents and purposes, though, she kind of died for them. She's basically dead for them. I don't know why. Is this a pandemic thing? They couldn't make it any bigger or flash, or is it just they ran out of time? Oh fuck, we're running long here. Just this should be the emotional climax of the episode, and it really is an afterthought. So many fades and quick cuts of her hugging characters that you don't believe any of it, because if these are all supposed to be magical friends that she's had along the way, and some of them we know that she has, give us longer moments of farewell with them. Her and Saru have a hug that you almost miss because they crossfaded to another hug she's having. And I'm like, they've had a great friendship over the last few seasons, and this is the farewell, and yes, she comes back in the later half of the season, but, like, she's gone from the credits, okay? Whether she comes back as a main cast member next season, but in all intents and purposes, this is Tilly's farewell. And, like, this wouldn't matter as much if she was, like, a recurring minor guest role, not a lead cast member. Absolutely, like, if you, like, top 10 weird creative choices from Star Trek Discovery this goes in the top 10 of, like, what was going through their heads? Now that they've finished up with Tilly, I just have to ask, do you think they liked the character of Tilly?
At some point, yes. I think they did.
After this?
No, I don't think they like her anymore. I think there were at least some that did, like some writers that did, but overall, the show is just done with her.
We've got Adira now. We've got the shiny new young
So it doesn't matter
toy.
that we don't do character progress because it's a different character now.
In a way, there's no loss on their part. I said earlier, it's like, these are things that it's a job for them. Well, guess what? The job for Project Tilly, they've just scratched out the name and have Project Adira.
It's that thing when you meet the younger generation, you just want to give them all the wisdom you have so they don't have to earn it in the hard way, you know? And I just hope that connection between Tilly and Adira stays, because Adira is weirdly like teaching Tilly how to be an adult.
Is that the sound I hear in my ears ringing? Is that a certain Dar of a Hue variety? Yeah, it is.
We get a decent amount of Hugh action. A little bit of backstory, a little bit of humor.
A little bit of Hugh, where Hugh tells some humorous tales, not jokes, just humorous stories. Oh, that wacky old Hugh Culber. So yeah, this is the part where we
also
zero in on Hugh.
Doctor.
Oh yeah, we gotta remember that aspect. Yeah, we get a lot from Hugh here. He's obviously serving the ship's counselor role. He's trying to connect with Book, but he's not experienced, similar to Tilly, where it's like he's finding his feet. It's like maybe he is too busy kind of picking up these parlor tricks from reading them off of his his pad. But perhaps there's more to those tricks than Book realizes. But ultimately, he himself is a man who's broken and damaged like Book, but he's
not ready
to talk about it. So there's that dangling thing there of, we'll get into that as we go along. My big takeaway is not from the character, but rather from the actor.
Yeah.
Is Wilson Cruz, and I do not remember the actor who plays Book. I am so sorry. No chemistry between those guys.
Nah.
It's a void.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're supposed to be antagonistic, but they're also supposed to be warm and friendly and humorous, and it's forced.
Okay.
It's very
Which is
artifice.
worse, though? Book and Stamets or Book and Hugh?
Book and Hugh are a little bit more boring, so I'll go with Book and Hugh. Yeah, just no chemistry between these two guys. Just nothing. Just fake.
It is filler, and it feels even more like filler with the performances that we are given.
What was your reaction to this, and I guess season 4 when it comes to Hugh? Because I say this being tying it in season 4 because this was the real big step forward for Hugh. Like he actually gets time to. Yeah, we asked for this. So what was your overall reaction to Hugh here and in this how season 4 dealt with him?
Oh, he's learning how to do his job. That's to be expected. But then I'm like, he says, well, usually we wouldn't do this sort of thing in like traditional therapy because we know each other so well. It's like, one, you don't really know each other that well. you've had many shared experiences. That is true. But I wouldn't say that you know Book.
No.
And you don't need to know him in order to disclose like a personal experience that's relevant and pertinent. Like lots of regular therapists do that when it's appropriate. So it doesn't feel like it needs as much of a caveat as they give it. The other thing. What the fuck was it? I don't even...
Was it about his family backstory with the breaking off of the thumbs, or his own personal trauma that he's still dealing with underneath all of his happy-go-lucky energy that he's got going on? I'm not too sure what your other point was going to be, but if I could just slip one in while you're thinking and recollecting and trying to grasp at that straw, I was very pleased that we were getting this. We have been starving for Hugh to have a purpose, and not just a purpose, but any form of character to him. Not just a guy who smiles and nods, not just the guy who stands next to Paul and is in service of Paul and his journey and his story. Yes, he's still serving the guiding somebody else's story function, but they're adding more to him, and
a little bit more agency.
And the actor is allowed to actually do stuff.
Yeah.
Because Wilson Cruz seems like a nice enough gentleman. I've seen him in some roles here and there, and he's been fun. He was in the last episode of Pushing Up Daisies, and he was really fun in that episode, very over the top and silly.
Yeah.
So he can act, or he can do stuff. He's not my favorite actor in the show, but like that's because I haven't given him anything to do. So my pleasure came from, the actor has waited for 4 years to do stuff. And they give him like crap. Like, here's a fight scene with Ash, and here's a scene where you and Paul brush teeth, but they're very few things. So he's allowed to be jovial. He's allowed to play
far between.
Yeah, few and far between. He's allowed to play multiple notes here as an actor, as well as a character. But although I want this, although I needed this, it's a monkey paw where it's too little too late.
Absolutely.
We aren't watching Star Trek Discovery like how some people do, where they wait for a bunch of seasons to come out, then they marathon it or whatever. We've been with it from day one. So I have in real time experienced my displeasure with the lack of character for Hugh Culber. And so I don't have that benefit of like when I watched the 90s Trek, where I wasn't there day to day, week to week, year to year, to be disappointed by, Enterprise or Voyager's stuff what they did with characters, like Harry Kim, for instance. I can just experience it like all in one go, or like in a quick succession, and not really care that much.
Experience.
Not really care. Like, I don't care that Harry Kim's not really a character.
No.
Would it be nice if he was?
Disappointing.
Sure. Yeah. Hoshi, I would care. I wish he was a character too, or any of them in Enterprise, but I'm not really that invested. But I am invested because I've sunk time into Hugh, and now they've finally got somewhere, but it's still like, too little too late, guys. This guy's just been standing around.
Yeah. Another thing bothered me about this, which is that he says that, like, he gives the impression that telling stories about him is an exception because Book knows him so well.
Yeah.
That applies to every motherfucker on this crew.
Well, there's so much that Hugh does off screen,
Every motherfucker on this.
Michael,
like, he's just chilling and spying on them, taking their downtime as well.
Yeah, and also there's a magical character off screen, and so we can believe that him and Book have this magical friendship because in this magical 5 months they've really bonded. Why not? Who knows? Maybe it's his spore powers. There's nothing else I have to say on Hugh. It was nice to hear some family backstory, I guess. I mean, it's like yay, they're giving the actor more lines, dialogue, and making him not just smile and nod all the time.
But he does still do that.
Oh, that's his.
They
That's his
don't
default.
take that
That's
as
his
word.
That's his
Don't
default.
take that away from us.
Don't kink shame him. That's his thing. He loves to smile and nod. That's his thing, Rachel. So this episode is the lowest rated of the entire show thus far.
It doesn't deserve that. It's bad, but it doesn't deserve that position.
Doesn't it? 4.9.
I would say other ones are worse.
Like what?
The Blue Planet one.
In the first season?
Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
That was pretty fucking bad. Like, it looked sickly. It is...
There was no plot.
Yeah.
Saru went crazy, and it was really funny, though.
Yeah. We got to see a Kelpian run through the forest.
Yeah, they've never used that again, have they?
No.
God,
No.
he's a slow motherfucker.
Like, that one sticks out as worse. I
still hate People of Earth more than this.
Oh, that turd. Yeah.
It's one of the rare examples of we have had this conflict of what's worse, an episode that angers you, gives you a
Anger
negative
or
emotion,
apathy?
anger or apathy, and
What's
I
worse?
usually am like apathy's worse.
Yes.
But People of Earth, wow, it really pushed my buttons emotionally to piss me off, and it still stands out as the worst. But I would say that this
episode's down there, but not
Mhm.
that bad. And I think we would be more on that bandwagon if we still had a shred of a fuck to give about Tilly.
I know why it's, for me,
Mm.
why it's one of the worst. And I agree. I don't think this is the worst the show has done. I think The Sanctuary last season was way worse than this. Why it is a huge, colossal failure to me is, although I can see what it is, it's probably the most clear and focused of the episodes we've watched. It is also Discovery at this point, its biggest fumble at actually telling the story that they present you. That is why it is a fuck up majorly in my book. I don't know what everyone else is saying about this, because he's probably like, oh, it's filler, it's junk, and Tilly leaves abruptly, and there's awful, awful, awful dialogue and forced emotions, usual standard. But it presents stories that you could tell, and then it fucks up the execution more than any other episode. Like, it is angering because it is, you see it. You see what this should be, and they have no excuse not to do it. No excuse. It's the biggest misfire in execution of telling a story.
Yeah, I think their excuse is they don't wanna. Anyway, it's a yum for me.
Yum.
Yeah, it's a yum from me.
Yum.
Weirdly,
Right.
it's probably the best episode we've watched in season 4 for me.
Still
and
bad,
yet
so it's still a
garbage.
yum.
It's garbage. It's trash. Let's throw it in the
Enlighten
bin.
us as to what
Mm.
I
Wow.
will be suffering through next.
Well, you won't be suffering, Rachel, because the next one is a 5.8. So we're stepping up near a 6. This is the highest.
Still Discovery.
Excuse me. This is the highest rated one that we've gotten up to thus far.
Wow.
So please look forward
Thank
to
you.
season 4, episode 5.
It's a mercy.
Do you want to hear what it is? Season 4, episode 5. The Examples.
Wow.
Now, I'm curious. From
Do
the
go
title,
on.
do you even remember?
No.
You sure? You're going to really love this one when you get told what it is.
Woo.
Okay. Here we go. The plot summary on IMDb goes as such. Burnham and Book race to evacuate a group of stranded colonists in the anomaly's path
no.
as one of the Federation's brightest scientists comes aboard the USS Discovery to do high-stakes research with Saru
Welcome,
and
Taka.
Stamets. Who's Taka? There's no such person as Taka, because last I knew, a Taka character was a villain, and this season doesn't have a villain. a non-corporeal villain.
No.
They said there is no bad guy in this season.
I didn't say that Taka was a bad guy.
Last I remember, there was a Taka, and he was like a villain. And that can't be in this season.
No,
You must have read a plot synopsis for next season where they introduced a super villain.
Like that.
They didn't
wouldn't
lie.
mislead their audience.
Yeah, and withhold things from the audience.
No. In Yum Yum we trust.
In Yum Yum we trust. In Yum Yum we trust. And you can trust to us so much that you can leave a rating and review on whatever podcatcher you use. You can follow us on all of the social medias under YumYumPod or YumYumPodcast. We are always posting things on there. You can engage with us in further discussion. You can email us if you want to hit us up directly at yumyumpod@gmail.com. All of this is available in the description of the episode, as is usual. We have a Patreon as well, where we are doing a whole bunch of stuff on there. It's very busy. We've got a lot of content happening there. We've got a great community that you can be a part of. When you join, you get to be a part of our group Discord, where we're always chatting about random things. So come on over to the Patreon. You get to hear our thoughts on Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Picard Season 2, the X-Men movies, the Star Trek movies, of course, a whole slew of things. There's so much on there. You could spend the next 10 years of your life listening to our Patreon. Probably not. Probably 4. But
it depends
a good
on
amount.
how you space out the content.
Yeah, and if you have it on slow speed. And you only listen to one word at a time. But all of that, again, in the description. Rachel, you were so happy to do this. That
very overjoyed.
You were so happy that you didn't even want to hit upon one of the most important plot points of the season.
What the fuck is that?
Grey, although got to choose exactly what their body looked like, and there was a whole scene dedicated to it, off screen with no mention, randomly changed their entire look in this episode, and it was weirdly not commented on. The hair change and the whole makeup and everything has changed, and it's like, wait, why didn't you set this up in the previous one? No. Oh well, that's a mystery box to explore in the next episode.